Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about breaking news, MLB baseball, and NFL football. So before I start the show, I hope that you all had a great Labor Day weekend. I know I did. I watched the last preseason game of the Denver Broncos. I also went to the Rocky Mountain Showdown at Mile High Stadium on Friday, and I just had a really great weekend. I also went to the Rockies game on Labor Day as well. And to start off the show, how about those first place Colorado Rockies? Since the beginning of September, the Rockies have been on a 5-game winning streak, which includes a sweep against the San Francisco Giants at Coors Field this week. Also, you got to check out Trevor Story's 3-run home runs from last night against the Giants. Trevor Story's 30th home run of the season went 505 feet, setting a new StatCast record. Since they've been keeping record back from 2015. If the Rockies want to win the NL West or make it into the playoffs, they're going to have to play great for the rest because they have a hard schedule, and it begins with the division rivals Los Angeles Dodgers this weekend and the Arizona Diamondbacks next week at Coors Field. If you have the opportunity and you're a Rockies fan, I highly encourage you to go out to the games. They need your support from the fans. Also, they just need the energy so they can win these games. And if they keep winning, they're going to win the division and they can make it into the playoffs as well. So with the support of the fans, that even gives them a greater chance of getting into the playoffs. Moving on now to breaking news. Denver 2016 first-round draft pick Paxton Lynch was released over the weekend after 2 seasons with the team. The Broncos received quarterback Kevin Hugan on waivers from the Washington Redskins. After Peyton Manning retired, Paxton Lynch couldn't beat Trevor Siemian to become the starter, and the Broncos signed Case Keenum during free agency this offseason to be their quarterback this season. So the Denver Broncos moved on from Paxton Lynch, and they see their quarterback being Case Keenum. I can't wait for the season to begin this Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks here at Mile High Stadium. Also, other news from the NFL, Khalil Mack was traded from the Oakland Raiders to the Chicago Bears. The Bears reached a record-setting 6-year extension with Khalil Mack. Now Khalil Mack is the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. According to ESPN, Derek Carr and other players are shocked about the trade, and they didn't expect Khalil Mack to get traded. Khalil Mack had been holding out all offseason. Derek Carr stated, "It is what it is. It's part of the business. It's one of those sucky things that happen, and you lose a good football player." So I was surprised that the Raiders moved on from Khalil Mack. All of his teammates on the Raiders were surprised that he got traded to the Bears, but just like Derek Carr said, it's part of the business and you got to move on. And according to Derek Carr, he was a great teammate, brother, and friend, and he hates that he had to move on and play for another team now. Also, last Friday at Mile High Stadium, the Rocky Mountain Showdown took place, and CU wins their 4th straight showdown, and the final score was 45-13. CU's quarterback Steven Montez and the DeSoto duo dominated the game. CU was really great throughout this whole game. Their quarterback was great, and they just played a lot better than the Colorado State Rams. It's always a great game every year when they do the showdown at Mile High Stadium. So if you did not make it out to the Rocky Mountain Showdown this year, they will be back at Mile High Stadium next year. So I encourage you to go if you've never been. Also, CU's next game is at Nebraska this Saturday on September 8th. Since CU moved into the Pac-12, they have not played Nebraska, but they are going to be playing Nebraska this weekend, so I'm really looking forward to that game and seeing this rivalry coming back between CU and Nebraska. Moving on now to baseball, I'm going to give you the updates in every division in both the American League and the National League. Since it's September now and the season's starting to wind down, the teams that are contending for a playoff spot, it's getting a lot serious. So to start off with the American League, we got the American League East. The Boston Red Sox are leading this division, and the New York Yankees are 9.5 games back. The Cleveland Indians are leading the American League Central, and they're going to likely win this division. And in the American League West, the Houston Astros are leading this division, but the Oakland Athletics are only sitting 3.5 games back right now. And for the American League wild card, the New York Yankees are leading the first spot. The Oakland Athletics are in the second spot, and the only other team right now that looks like they could chase one of the two teams contending for the 2 wild card spots is the Seattle Mariners. They do have a long shot, but don't count them out quite yet. Moving on now to the National League East. The Atlanta Braves are leading this division, and the Philadelphia Phillies are only sitting 3 games back. There's still many chances that the Phillies can try to win this division and take it from the Braves. In the National League Central, the Chicago Cubs are leading this division right now. The Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals are sitting 4 games back, so they still have an opportunity. Don't count them out quite yet, even though it's a long shot. To save the best for last, the National League West and the most competitive, your Colorado Rockies are leading this division, but don't count out the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Arizona Diamondbacks quite yet. It's a very tight race. The Dodgers are sitting 1.5 games back, and the Diamondbacks are sitting 2 games back. So there's still a lot of competition, a lot of baseball to be played. And if you can make it out to Coors Field this weekend or next, I highly encourage you, because we are playing the division rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers this weekend and the Arizona Diamondbacks next week. And if we can win some of those games, take the series or sweep them like we did to the San Francisco Giants, then that's going to give us a better opportunity of winning this division. We're going to gain a lead over these teams. And I would feel really comfortable if we have like a 4 or 5 game lead for this division. It's just still too tight, so losing a game can really push us back instead of forward, and giving the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks the opportunity of moving up to first place. And looking at the National League wild card, right now the Milwaukee Brewers are leading this first spot, and the St. Louis Cardinals are in the second spot. There's still a lot of competition for who can get one of these 2 spots in the National League wild card. The other 3 contending teams are also teams contending for their division. So it would be the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Phillies. So it's really going to come down to who wins their division in the National League, and then whoever doesn't win will be contending for one of the 2 wild card spots. So don't count any team out. Anything can happen. Any of these teams can go on a winning streak or a losing streak, so it can remain the way it is, or it can definitely change. So it's a very exciting time right now in baseball. I'm eager to see who gets into the playoffs in both the American League and the National League, and I really hope that the Rockies can win the National League West and get into the playoffs. Moving on now to football, I'm going to give you the final scores of all the preseason games from the final week of preseason football. Even though the final scores don't really matter in the last week of preseason football, you get to see a lot of competition take place. You get to see the backups and the third string players. And you also get to see players that are trying to win a starting job or to still have a job on the team that they're currently on. None of the starters played, but there was still a lot of competition that took place. A lot of players still fighting to make a roster spot or to remain on the team. So right now I'm going to give you the final scores of every game. So the Cleveland Browns and the Detroit Lions played each other. The final score was the Browns won 35-17. The Miami Dolphins and the Atlanta Falcons played each other. The final score was the Dolphins won 34-7. The New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles played each other. The final score was the Eagles won 10-9. The New England Patriots and the New York Giants played each other. The final score was the Patriots won 17-12. The Indianapolis Colts and the Cincinnati Bengals played each other. The final score was the Colts won 27-26. The Washington Redskins and the Baltimore Ravens played each other. The final score was the Ravens won 30-20. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played each other. The final score was the Jaguars won 25-10. The Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers played each other. The final score was the Steelers won 39-24. The Los Angeles Rams and the New Orleans Saints played each other. The final score was the Saints won 28-0. The Buffalo Bills and the Chicago Bears played each other. The final score was the Bills won 28-27. The Minnesota Vikings and the Tennessee Titans played each other. The final score was the Vikings won 13-3. The Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans played each other. The final score was the Texans won 14-6. The Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs played each other. The final score was the Chiefs won 33-21. The Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals played each other. The final score was the Broncos won 21-10. The Los Angeles Chargers and the San Francisco 49ers played each other. The final score was the Chargers won 23-21. The Oakland Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks played each other. The final score was the Raiders won 30-19. So that's all the final scores from the last week of preseason football. And over the weekend, all 32 teams had 90 players on their roster, and they had to cut down to a 53-man roster. So over the weekend, many cuts took place of certain players on different teams, and originally Paxton Lynch made the 53-man roster, but the very next day he was cut by the Denver Broncos, and there were a lot of other cuts that the Denver Broncos made that I was a little bit surprised about as well. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they feel like whoever's on their 53-man roster are the best players. That's the players that are going to make the team win games when it counts. So all these players that were cut had the opportunity of making it on other rosters, and since these players got to play and they have film, other teams can view their film and decide if they want to sign this player to a contract or not. And another thing too is some players that were cut from the 53-man roster also had the opportunity of coming back to their current team and making the 10-man practice squad. So some players that were cut from their team made it on the 10-man practice squad, so you have a 53-man roster of all the players that start, and then you have the 10-man practice squad where they bring back 10 players. So it was nice to see that the Broncos and other teams brought back certain players to be on the practice squad, and when they call them up to go into the game, there's definitely been players that have made an impact. So I'm looking forward to what players make an impact for every team this season, whether they're on the 53-man roster or on the practice squad. So football's just around the corner, and I'm really looking forward to this season. So moving on now to start off the NFL regular season, I'm going to tell you the Week 1 matchups. And if you want to watch some football, tune in to the game that's going to kick off the NFL regular season. The first game is between the Atlanta Falcons and Super Bowl 52 champions Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be a great game. Every year, the team that won the Super Bowl from the previous season kicks off the regular season. So even though Carson Wentz is not ready and he's not starting tonight, I'm still looking forward to Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be a great team again this year. They even have a chance of going back and winning the Super Bowl. They're definitely one of the 4 favorites. They're definitely one of the 4 favorites to go out and win the Super Bowl this season. The favorites to win this year's Super Bowl includes the Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Los Angeles Rams. So the regular season kicks off tonight. Looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to all the games this weekend, and definitely looking forward to these Denver Broncos. They should be a lot better. They got their quarterback, Case Keenum. They got a better team. They look great on offense and defense. They had a really good draft class. I'm looking forward to Bradley Chubbs, especially the player that they drafted with the 5th overall pick, Courtland Sutton, the wide receiver. So let's kick off this regular season and watch some football. And the Denver Broncos will play the Seattle Seahawks in their regular season opener this Sunday at Mile High Stadium. So tune into that game and tune into all the other games that are going to take place as well. So now I'm going to tell you every matchup and which teams play against each other in the first week of regular season football. So the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens, the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the New York Giants, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints, the Houston Texans versus the New England Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Minnesota Vikings, the Tennessee Titans versus the Miami Dolphins, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Denver Broncos, Dallas Cowboys versus the Carolina Panthers, Washington Redskins versus the Arizona Cardinals, Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers, New York Jets versus the Detroit Lions, and the Los Angeles Rams versus the Oakland Raiders. So most of the games are going to be taking place on Sunday. Tonight, tune in to the Atlanta Falcons versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And on Monday night, tune in to the 2 games between the New York Jets and the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams versus the Oakland Raiders. All these games this week are great matchups. Looking forward to the first week of football. Football's finally back. It's a long off season, but we're finally here. I'm looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to all the players that got traded or moved in free agency to different teams. Now they're getting a fresh start on their new teams. All the new rookies from this year's draft class. Definitely what to watch for this season. Alex Smith on the Washington Redskins. Kirk Cousins on the Minnesota Vikings. Case Keenum on the Denver Broncos. Our rookie quarterbacks, Sam Darnold on the New York Jets. Baker Mayfield on the Cleveland Browns. Josh Allen on the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Rosen on the Arizona Cardinals. Watch out for some great teams this year. The teams contending or that are favorites to win this year's Super Bowl have great defenses, a great team overall, so you're going to see a lot of competition in both the AFC and the NFC. Next week I will give my predictions of who wins their division and what awards players will get. And I'm just looking forward to this year's football season. This year's Super Bowl is going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. So there's definitely going to be a lot of teams contending for a playoff spot that are going to be better, even contending to win the Super Bowl as well. So just stay tuned. It's a great time of year. This is my favorite time of year right now because you got both baseball and football happening at the same time here in September. It's very exciting with the end of the baseball season coming up and the beginning of the football season. So moving on now to end the show, what to watch for this week. The beginning of NFL regular season this weekend. If you're in fantasy drafts, there's definitely going to be some great players to choose, some great matchups. So fill out your predictions of who wins the Super Bowl this year and what players are going to do great. Also, we got to watch what's happening in baseball as well. There's very tight races in every division in both the American League and the National League. It's very exciting to see what teams are contending for a playoff spot. This is when you see great baseball take place. It's a very crucial time of year right now because you got to win games, and if you don't win games, it's just pushing you back and not pushing you forward. So stay tuned for that. If you can, and if you're a Rockies fan, make it out to Coors Field sometime this September to root on the Colorado Rockies having an opportunity of making it to the playoffs. Go to the Broncos games if you have the opportunity. Also, watch the first football game tonight between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. And you all have a great weekend. I will be back next week to give you some updates in both baseball and football. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Until next time, this is Gerardo.